Now, once your team gets nice and successful like mine, you'll start to be able to fan yourself with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollar bills. That said, you can't keep it all. One of the most common questions that I receive from agents is, how do I handle splits on my teams? And for some reason, commission splits on teams seem to be a really taboo topic. So I'm going to break the mold. I'm going to tell everybody my team business model and how we are all compensated. And I hope that people find this really helpful, because I've learned some really difficult lessons, and I started by doing what I do think most teams do. And I had this split model that I was so proud of, and there were like a dozen if-then scenarios. And it was like, if the lead is mine, but you close it, then it's a 70-30 split. And if the lead is yours and you close it, then it's a 70-30 split, but you get the 70 and I get the 30. If the lead comes from one of our listings, it's an 80-20 split. If it's a seller lead, it's a 75-25 split. It just went on and on and on. And I thought it was so well thought out. I can't even remember what it was, because the fastest thing I learned was that it didn't work. And so we had to cut that very quickly. And what we ended up doing was a model that worked pretty well for us. We actually stuck to this model for a couple of years, and it was on sellers. We split sellers 70-30, so I kept 70 and the agent that worked the seller with me took 30. And then on buyers, it started at a 50-50 split. And then once they had closed, I want to say $10 million of business, they got a 10% bump. And then once it was another 5 million, they got another 5% bump. And so it was this graduating like escalation clause. And that was actually a pretty good business model, because it did keep the agents really excited and motivated towards hitting new milestones and getting to the next level and getting these higher commission splits. We kept running into the same problems over and over again, and have now found a new, very simple model that fixes them all. Let me start by telling you what some of the issues are with that whole if-then scenario. If you're being a great leader, the whole goal is that you can keep these well-seasoned agents on your team for as long as humanly possible. As that happens, there's going to quickly become a gray area over the original lead source of all of this business. Because let's say you give a lead to the agent, they do a great job, and so you close it under, let's say, that 70-30 business model. Then that client gives them a lead later that would have come to you otherwise, then is it 70-30 in their favor? And it kind of becomes this like, whose is it? And I can't tell you how quickly that starts to happen. And people who come and interview on my team, who are on other people's teams, it's the complaint that they all talk about is, well, you know, we really fight over who gets what on this commission and that commission. And it's the only thing that's really happened on my team as well, is we would get to the finish line and be like, no, the split is this. And somebody's like, no, the split is this. And it just becomes this stupid thing where we're like tracing it back as far as we could. It's like detective work, and it's a waste of time. And honestly, people get really upset. You know, you are messing with people's income and their financial well-being, and it's a hard thing to really get around. Once we switched to the 50-50 model, it became very simple, because it didn't matter what the lead source was. It was just everything was set, and it was 50-50, and then once they closed X amount, it went up, and it went up, and it went up. The issue was, as we were starting to get a lot of sellers, and I was only giving them 30% commission splits on their sellers, but they were getting higher commission splits on their buyers, the sellers were not getting proper attention, and the buyers were getting all of the attention. And then my business really started to crumble, because I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to get all of these sellers satisfied while they were out with the buyers, and it was maddening. It just didn't work. So you know what we do now? Fucking everything's 50-50. The best fucking decision I ever made in my business. My business coaches have told me to do it forever. I've been told by a million people that this is how I should do it, and I was like, no, my model's better. It's not better. Go 50-50 on everything. That's if you've been on my team for 100 years, or if you've been on my team for 2 months. We're 50-50 on every single thing that we work together. And let me tell you why that works. There's never a gray area. There's never a concern of who needs to go do what. There's never a concern of what's fair. We are 50-50 on everything, regardless of the lead source. And while yes, you're like, even if it's like a $15 million listing that you pulled in and you showed once and you brought on an agent, you're really gonna give them 50-50? I am. And you know what that does? That keeps them on my team for a long time, because later in this series, we're gonna talk about how hard it is to hire and train and get somebody into the mode. and the amount of time that it would take me to get somebody up to that level, there's so much money I lose during that it just makes more sense to give the higher commission splits, keep people happy, keep people motivated, and I promise you, you will make up for it in dividends beyond your wildest imagination. I've never made more money in my life than when I took out of my own commission splits and went down to 50-50. It's a hard lesson, but it's the right thing to do, and I hope everybody who's watching this goes to a 50-50 commission split on every single transaction.